Hi, welcome to my channel. I am Gina, the Artful Addict, and I'm so glad that you stopped by today. Lately, I have been addicted to snowmen. Why? Well, because my daughter's friend, one of her friends, had wanted some special cards to send out, and I made some snowman cards. That's what we decided. And I have been just making snowmen like crazy. I've already sent her her cards and I'm still making snowmen. So I had a few. Her cards were small, so it was on a very, small piece like this. But, you have to practice, right? I've got snowmen all around me. Here's just a few, practice how the paper feels, how the colors go on. Your arms, your scarves, your noses, practice. And that's what everybody has to do. So, look at trying to figure out how many branches to put on for the arms. This one, I believe I used some snowflake paste and some like glitter paint. And honestly, I'm not very thrilled with how that came out. So I don't know if I'll be using it. But today, look. I was trying to make one of those hats that with the big fluffy thing. I don't know what they're called. It has little flaps that hang down, but I got a little carried away. This one looks like a puppy dog, but it's still cute. And look at this little chubby guy. Isn't he sweet? I did this one today. And here's one with earmuffs and a sweater because, why not? And then I finally did do one where I colored the background. So I'm having so much fun with snowmen, I thought, why not take you guys along with me and do a watercolor snowman video. Before I get started, I just wanted to show you a few supplies that I'll be using. The watercolor paper is Canson, and it's cold press, 140 pound, and I cut it into 4x6 pieces. I'm going to be using the St. Petersburg Black Knight's watercolor set. It's got 36 colors in it. There we go. Okay, here's my little spot sheet I made. So I'll be using these. Mostly I will be using these two brushes, and they are both by Princeton, the Velvet Touch series, and they're both round. This is a 2 and this is a 6. This is a long round. And I do have a few watercolor pencils nearby. These are from Faber Castell. Sometimes if you want to sketch out for watercolor, these are great to use because they are watercolor and they blend right in. I've got 2 things of water and a paper towel for my brush. And I just have a little piece of parchment paper down that I'll use to put my card. All right, now that I'm all set up, let's get started. I think I'll go ahead and start out by sketching. Let's see, I might be able to bring you closer. Sketching is a great way to start, just so you know where your boundaries are, especially if you're a beginner. So I'm going to use this light blue watercolor pencil. I know I want to have a hat on top, so I'm not going to do the whole circle. Okay, you can do that if you want to, but I'm just going to start maybe halfway down and just do the bottom half. Okay, something like that. Hopefully you can see that. Let me get you a little closer. Okay, so I'm going to have a hat that goes on top. So this is really all I need. I'll do it darker so you can see. Okay, so I'm just going to do the half of the head. Then I'll do the next section. Okay. Like so, and then we'll do the bottom. I don't know about you, but I can always draw one side better than the other. So if you're like that, feel free to flip your paper around. It does not have to stay like this the entire time. You do what works for you. Okay, so there we go. You can go ahead and put in the ground, the snowy ground below him. Okay. The next step is you need to decide what colors you're going to use. Now, what I typically do for a standard snowman is I usually use the cerulean blue, maybe some Payne's gray mixed in there because I like that. But I've even used browns, and I may use some of those today. But maybe sometimes even this cobalt blue. It just depends. Honestly, a blue is a blue because I know other color theorists are screaming, no, it's not. But if you're a beginner, a blue is a blue. So I'm going to take the number 6 size brush and I'm going to wet it. And as you can see, I've already got a lot of stuff going on here from where I've been making snowmen already. I think I had some of the cerulean blue up here. I'll put a little bit more. Okay. All right. That's a good one to start with. It's very close to the color of my watercolor pencil, so that works out great. Okay. All right. So let me go in and grab some, and I just start shading along the side. Okay. I do kind of one little strip like this, right along the side. Okay. Now, then I go grab some more water and I spread that out. Oops. Okay. Kind of got crazy down here because I was trying to look up at my camera and do it at the same time, and clearly it doesn't work because that's why I went way outside of the line. Okay, so then I turn it over and do this side. I just work better at this angle. So like I said, you do what works for you. Okay, there you go. Okay. Get a little more water and just spread that out. Now, let's see if I can fix this side. I need to make this side bigger too so it's not uneven. All right, so now that I've got some water down, I like to come in with Payne's gray, and that's what I've got here, some Payne's gray. So I'm just going to use a little bit. You don't want it necessarily super dark, but it's good to have a contrasting color in there. Let me see what this looks like. Okay. Okay, so add a little bit more. Okay, let's do this side. Okay, you can always get water if you think you've got too much and just spread it out. It dilutes it and, you know, keeps that from having that hard edge. You don't want a hard edge. Now, you can leave it darker in certain places, right? So wherever the two pieces of the body meet, on the bottom part can be a little darker because it'll be a little bit shaded there. And the Payne's gray is great for that. Okay, you just kind of dab it on. Okay, spread it out. Dab it and spread it. Okay, let's see. All right, a little bit more. Dab it. Because you're, oop, come on, focus. Okay, because your water, you've got a lot of water down. You can just even kind of tap it in, and it spreads around. Okay. And you can kind of lightly go over where the roundness, like I didn't draw the whole circle, but you can kind of do that with a little bit of the shading. Okay, you can kind of come down like this because you want to make sure it looks round, and you want to portray that in your painting. Let's see, I'm gonna put some color there. All right, now I like to go in with some of that brown, and mostly I tend to use raw. Actually, I use all of these. It just depends on what I've got down, but I think right here I think is raw sienna. So here's what that will look like. Pulling it from right here. And it's real watered down, okay? And again, I'll just kind of hit the sides. And okay. He is a little bit lopsided. But you know, some snowmen are. You know, I've gotten to where I just don't nitpick everything I do because otherwise I would never be satisfied with anything I create. I'm learning. I am absolutely not a watercolorist. I love to play with watercolors though. So, you know, I'm just showing you how I do it. You know, if you've never done it before, I hope this just encourages you to try it, because it takes practice, and that's really pretty much what I do every time. Every time you paint one, it's a practice and you learn something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in the bottom, and with that I go back to the cerulean blue. Okay. Go, and maybe even some of that Payne's gray, because there's no rules. You do whatever you like, or whatever looks good to your eye. All right, now that's wet, but my snowman is dry. Now next I like to do the hat. Maybe we'll do like this kind of hat. I think that tends to be the one I do the most. And again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay, right? We're learning, so don't be scared. Let's just try. The more you do it, the better you get. Okay, so I have, this is some black mixed in with some indigo. I like those two. Indigo is a very dark blue. Here, this is the indigo. See, and there's my black. So I mix those two together and it makes a nice combination. If you ever looked at a black hat, a lot of times in the light it almost looks blue, doesn't it? So that works out really well. Okay, so I'm going to get this nice and wet. Okay, and load up my brush, and I'm still using the number 6. Pointed round. Okay. Now, so I kind of start down here and then just drag my brush over there. See? Makes kind of a comma. Okay, so I want to pick up some more, maybe do it again, get a little bit darker. Okay. There we go. And are the ends perfectly even? Are they the same? No, they're not, but that's okay. Just keep going. You can try to fiddle with it, but honestly, sometimes the more you fiddle with it, the worse it gets. So there we go. There's my brim. Now, I'm going to create the top part, and the top part is going to kind of come out at an angle, a little bit of a diagonal. I'm going to load up my brush, And I'm going to start about where his head would be, and I'm going to come out. This is a pretty tall hat. Okay. There. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Coming around, his head would be about right here. And I'm going to come out. Okay, try to straighten that line up. Okay, there we go. Now, to close the top, I kind of go up and over like this. Let's see. Okay, like that. Okay, now you can just fill it in. If I had wanted to do, okay, here I have a little bit, but if you wanted that, like, see this red piece, if you wanted that to go all the way, I would have stopped right here, and then I would have skipped a spot and picked back up and just left that blank, and then came in with the red and filled it in. But I went all the way up with the black, so I'm just going to color it all in. All right, I'm going to try to clean up my brim just a little bit. Let's see. Like this. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to try to match it on the other side, which is always the tricky part. Okay, that's a little better. For this kind of hat, you want it to look like his head is actually in it. So I'm going to bring a little bit of an angle down here to show that it's around his head. So you kind of follow the contour of the head just a little bit. Okay, and then you angle it and bring it back up to the brim. Okay, there we go, something like this. There you go. Are they perfectly even? They aren't. I have a shaky hand, so this type of little detail work is really hard for me. So if you're like that, you are not alone, but don't let that hold you back, okay? Get out there and try, like me. Get out there and try. And you can enjoy it. You can enjoy the process even with shaky hands. So the brim of this hat's still wet, so we're going to stay away from that area. And I think I'll go ahead and put in some rosy cheeks. And for that, I have some of this quinacridone magenta. Okay, and that should be what is right here. I think I've got it actually in multiple places. So I'm just going to wet my brush just a little because this is dry. And I just need a tiny bit. You don't need it to be super pink. Just a subtle pink works just fine. Okay. And just going to draw 2 little circles. While those 2 pieces are drying, I'm going to work on the arms. And for that, I use a mixture of a lot of the browns, really just kind of whatever's on my palette. You just mix up something that might resemble wood. Kind of use a collection of them, because wood has all different colors in it, right? So, yeah. I'm kind of doing a dark brown. I just like to do some very simple arms, okay? So we're going to come here. I need some more. There we go. There we go. It's a nice dark brown. That's mostly the sepia. Okay. So, do a nice simple arm. It's just going to come up. And it's going to come out. Okay. And it's going to have a little branch coming off of it. Right here. Okay. Sometimes I like to put a little notch on there too, because wood's knotty and, you know, notchy where other little branches are broken off. So where there's a natural bend, like you could put a little notch right there. There you go. And now you can get really elaborate. As I showed you one earlier, I had, you know, branches going off all over. But I kind of like to keep it simple. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but you make your branches however you want to. Okay, let's come over here on this side. Come out. Okay. And I'll usually start in an upward angle, see? It's just slightly angled up. And then I kind of flatten it back out. Okay. And this one almost takes a turn down. Okay. Then I pop this little top one up. Like so. And his notch, let's see, this can be right here too. There we go. Got a little bit too much water on my brush. Okay. There we go. Now I check them, because inevitably, for some reason, I don't know if it's the angle from my painting, but this arm is usually thicker than this arm. And they're pretty close, but it looks like this one is just a little bit thicker. So I might come back in here and, you know, beef this left arm up just a little bit. So this is watercolor, so it will dry lighter than what you put down whenever it's wet. So some things you kind of have to go over again once it dries. You might want it a little bit darker. Okay, so that's it for the arms. Now my hat and my cheeks are dry. My arms are still wet. So I think I'm going to go in for the nose now. For that, I usually use this Titian red. Oops, sorry. This Titian red, because I know it's called red, but it looks really orange. I use that, and sometimes I'll mix a little bit of this ruby in with it. And that should be what I have right here. Okay. So, let me grab some of that. You could also put a little burnt sienna in there as well. That would be nice. Okay. So for my nose, I'm going to start, oops, right in the middle of where I put my little rosy cheeks, and kind of have it pointing up. You can do all kinds of things with the nose. You can have it real skinny, you can make it really fat, you can make it curved to where it curves up. Mine just is usually at an upward angle. So my nose goes usually into one of the cheeks, whichever direction I'm going in, so that's why it helps to put the cheeks down first. Okay, so that's it for the nose. Next, I think I'm going to give my snowman a scarf. There's a few different ways to do scarves. You could do it smooth and just do it like a kind of a straight line, and then a straight line down. But I like to do a fluffy scarf. So here, I'll show you how I do that. And I think this scarf will be, let's go for our turquoise blue. That's such a pretty color. Oops. Okay. There we go. That's good and dark. Okay. One of the hardest things about watercolor painting is learning the water ratio. So, you know, you don't want it dry, but sometimes you don't want it too wet either. It's just too hard to work with. Nice and dark. It's wet. It moves around really well. And I've got my brush loaded. But it's also real thick, too. Okay, it's not super runny or super pale. It's nice and dark. Okay, now to get the fluffy effect, I'm just going to tap my brush, still using this number 6 round. Okay, and I'm just going to start tapping. That's my first pass. Now I want to have one, you know, one coming down that's short and then one coming down that's long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have, I like to have a little bit like a lump, like where he's pulling a scarf, you know, underneath and then over top. So since I want to make sure I leave room for the mouth and this part's already high, I'm going to go ahead and work with that and have my pieces come down on this side. Okay, so I'm going to act like this is the part that came over. Okay, now I'm ready to make the piece that is underneath. Okay, so there we go. Now I have a fluffy scarf. Alright, my scarf is still wet, but the last thing to do is add the eyes and the mouth. And I'll be honest, I prefer not to use the watercolor to do that. I get a better result by just drawing it on. And I'm using this black journal pen from EK Tools, and this one's 0.35 millimeters. So I'm going to come up and I'm just going to draw the eyes. 1, 2, okay. Take a check. I have to look because I'm not right over top of it. Alright, one's a little higher than the other one. Oops. Alright, that's better. There we go. Now, to do a smile, we have these little rosy cheeks, so I'm going to give him a little cheek bulge on each side. And I just go like this, and I go like this. Okay, and I do my mouth. Okay. There. Yeah, I just don't have that much control with my watercolor pen. I did do, actually, I did do this one in watercolor. And I did the eyes in watercolor too. So, I mean, it can be done. It's just a little stressful for me. And see how wide his mouth is? Yeah. so it's less stressful and I get a better result if I use just a black pen. So that's pretty much it for him. Now you can go in, you can see where the hat has dried and it's a little patchy. I could go back in and darken it and do all that, or you can just let it be a highlight. So that is our first snowman number 1. Alright, so you saw how to make a traditional snowman. This snowman's going to be a little different. It's a chunky snowman. And it's he's going to end up being kind of like a kaleidoscope snowman. So definitely not your traditional style. But before I get to that part, I've already sketched him out. And this one only has 2 sections. And as you can see, I left the top open. And I drew just a tiny little line just as a marker here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the background. Okay, like I did on this one. Okay, and to get this color, I used a combination of Payne's Gray and violet, and I think a little bit of white. Now to put it on, I'm going to use a bigger brush, and this one is a 1/2 inch. Oops, sorry, can you see? It's a 1/2 inch by Royal and Langnickel. And this just, because I have such a large place, it just is a bigger area, and it sops up a lot of water. So I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to pick up some of the color, and I'm just going to start putting it on. Okay, I've got it all covered, and as you can see, my paper is bowing. You saw me push down my snowman. I'm going to get my heat gun because I'm just impatient. So let me dry this, and I'll be right back. Okay, my paper is all dry, and as you can see, I did get into the snowman, my lines just a little bit, and it's kind of messy looking, but honestly, that's okay. This one was messy too, but you know, it just kind of works with the picture. But don't worry about going in the lines on the snowman, because what we're going to do now is we're going to wet our snowman area. I'm going to go back to this big brush again. It holds so much water, so it's perfect for this job. And I'm going to fill in my snowman with water. Okay, as you can see, it is really wet. Slightly puddly, but not too bad. Now, while it's wet, you want to go ahead and get started. So, just pick colors. Let's do this dark blue. And then just start dropping it in. Okay, get it nice and wet. And just drop it in. So you want to make sure you get the perimeter good. Okay. Let's go to, let's do some orange. This is the Titian red, and this right here is ruby. I remember putting it down. So I'm going to kind of get into that as well, mix those together. So much fun. Okay, what else do we have? How about yellow? That way if it mixes with the blue or the red, then we're still good. I think this is the, I believe it's the Cad Yellow medium. You can just drop these colors wherever you want. You can even add some more water on there and then just let it swirl around. Let the colors mix if you want. Take your brush and mix them yourself. I didn't actually mean to do that. Oh, look, there it goes. Went over that piece right here. I wonder why. Guess that part's dry. There we go. There. You can keep adding, just be careful. You don't want to end up with mud. But as you can see, while it was still wet, and it did, it did mix with the blue, when I dropped the yellow in, it did finally kind of mix and turn kind of a green, but some places stayed yellow because just dropping it, it was so wet, it just pushed the other color away. So you get all kinds of different colors, and I didn't color the bottom yet because here's what I do. I just use the color, I use the color that's down here and make the snow that same crazy color as the snowman. and you end up with something like that. I think that just looks so cool. So now I just need to let it dry. Okay, it's all dry. Now the next thing I do is for the hat and for the arms and for the nose, I use the darkest color that I used in my snowman. And this seems to be blue. I've got my blue all ready. Now we just have to figure out what kind of hat do we want. I don't know. Let's just start drawing and see what happens. All right, there's the hat. Now let's do the nose. Now I don't put rosy cheeks on this one because there's already so much color, but you could if you like. On these, I keep the arms really basic because there's already so much going on with the colors. All right, time to do the eyes and the mouth. I go in. Now his arms and nose are still wet, so I gotta be careful. Maybe I'll make his smile a little bigger. So there you go. Make his eye a little bit bigger. So there you go. I think these are adorable, and I tell you what, if nothing else, they are so much fun to make. I've made several of them just playing with different color combinations, and I'll show a few of them to you. Now some turned out better than others, like I'm not crazy about that hat, but it's such a goofy snowman that it almost doesn't matter. I mean, you kind of expect the hat to be kind of funky as well. This guy's just like super fat. That hat is huge. This little green guy. Greens. I really like this combination, a pink and a Payne's gray. This is probably my favorite. It has lots of different colors of browns and some greens in there. Isn't it cute? But I like our little fella too. Look how sweet. All right, here are our two cards that we made today. We have the traditional snowman and we have the chubby psychedelic snowman. I'm curious to know which is your favorite. And keep in mind, you can keep adding to these. Like for instance, this one, I could go in and do some shading on the hat. I can go in even to the scarf and do a little bit of shading, kind of like I did on this one, that really helps to make it look like, you know, that scarf is on top. You can even do some outlining with your black pen. Like for instance in this one, as you can see, you know, I just outlined some places. So if you don't like the jaggedy edge right there, you can just take your black pen and maybe just do a little outline. You know, you can put a bird up here or on his arm. I mean, you know, you can flourish it any way you want. Okay, so I thought I was done with this video, but I'm not. I went ahead and I outlined this little guy, including his hat. I outlined pretty much everything except for his little rosy cheeks. And I thought it looked really cute like that. So I'm sorry I didn't film it, but that wasn't planned. But then I thought, well, you know what? Let's see how he looks. And I like it. So, you know, I'm just going to fill in a couple other things just that I can, you know, catch with my eye. Okay. I got this piece, let me back you up some. Well, as you can see right there, I embossed this piece of black paper. Oh, sorry. Here we go. I embossed it, and this is what I had done on the cards, the other snowman cards that I made for my daughter's friend. And I used it as a backdrop. So you could adhere this just as it is, or what I did for her card is I poked little holes on each side, you know, for the corners, and then took a little X-Acto knife and cut a slit, and I slid the corners in. And what it does is gives you an effect like this. See the corners? And it turned out really cute. I think that will be really cute and make a cute card. And it got me thinking, what should I do with the other one? Maybe I should do something to this little guy. And I remembered that I have these markers. Now, I'm sorry, they're not markers, they're gel pens. And I got this at Lidl. And, you know, you can see 30, you get 10 metallic, 10 neon, and 10 glitter. The metallic and neon, I haven't really used, but the glitter ones are awesome. So I was thinking maybe I could do something special to this little guy. I found this blue, which is as close as I can get to matching him, and this yellow and black. So I want to see, maybe he could benefit from a little touching up as well. So I'm going to take the black and go over his eyes. I can do his mouth. And I think that's all for the black. I know there's a lot of blue. All right, his hat is outlined and his brim is done. Now I was thinking I might outline his body too. I can't decide what color to use, to be honest. There's already so much blue. I kind of hated to use the blue. I think I'm just going to go for the black. Okay, I have two thoughts on this one. I'm looking at it and see how the water kind of pooled. So I kind of feel like I need to go ahead and continue this line since there's already kind of a bottom to him anyway. And then, oh, I'm sorry. Then the other thing before I do that is I have this one in there. To me it was purple, but when I did it, it really was more kind of a pink. So I might go ahead and then just do the outline of the snow. Now granted, this is much brighter pink than what's down here, but let's just go ahead and go for it. I think I'm going to do that first. He might just have to be sitting on top of the snow. Well, I think he's super cute. And on the back of this one, let's see. I did not emboss this, but this is a textured paper. So he could be mounted on something like this. Let me bring you in for a closer look. Okay. There's the first one. It's cute. And here's our crazy one. Isn't that fun? All right. What do you think? Oh, I hope you like them. I think they're so cute. They're lots of fun, and I really, really hope you do give this a try. If you do, I'd love it if you tagged me and send it to me. I would love to see what you do with this idea. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.